Learning fingerstyle guitar can be difficult, especially if you're cherry-picking YouTube videos and trying to teach yourself from a hodgepodge of information. Jim Ferris here, sharing my love of fingerstyle guitar and helping you grow as a player. In this series of videos, we're going to begin working our way through a book called Beginning Fingerstyle Guitar by Lou Manzi. I think that by working our way through this in a systematic manner, you'll be able to build the knowledge that you need to play fingerstyle guitar. And I think it's really to your advantage to have a book in front of you on your music stand, because you're going to need to read things, think about them, in order to get it into your brain and get it to come through your fingers. So I believe that it's the best approach. Let's get into the book. Step one is an explanation of what the strings are and how they're identified. They're going to have both a numerical name and a letter name. Numerically, they begin with string 1, which is the string that's smallest in diameter and closest to the floor. Then as the strings go up in size and up toward your chin or toward the ceiling, you'll have string 2, string 3, string 4, string 5, and then string 6 is the very biggest one. Biggest string gets the biggest numbers. How I always remember it. Okay? Now their letter names are going to be, and we're going to start at string 6 and work our way to string 1. Going to be E, A, D, G, B, and E. And you really ought to know them by both names. Now, it's important that you know how to tune the guitar. If you're at the beginning of your fingerstyle guitar journey and haven't begun to develop your ear yet, I recommend using an electronic tuner, like something like this, or a tuning fork, or pitch pipe, something like that. And these are pretty easy to use once you know how to do it. And by using something like this, you also learn how to tune the guitar relative to itself. So even if you're not quite at perfect concert pitch, you can still tune the guitar so it's in tune with itself. I like to use tuning forks. They're easy to use. You just tap it on a you don't want to hit a desk or anything that might possibly chip it, because if you break a piece off, it affects the mass of the tuning fork and it won't be true to what the pitch it's supposed to be. So tap it on something softish. I use my knee. Then you put it on the guitar and it vibrates through the guitar, and then you match that pitch. Once the pitch is matched, you're going to tune the guitar relative to itself. One of the most old school ways to do that is to go to the 5th fret of the string that you've tuned with your pitch pipe, tuning fork, or whatever, and play the 5th fret of that string. And then you're going to match the unfretted string that lies next to it, that's the next highest pitch string. So in my case, because I used an A tuning fork and my 5th string is an A, I'll go to the 5th fret of the 5th string, play it, then I will match the 4th string open. And when that's in tune, I'll go to the 5th fret of the 4th string and tune the 3rd string to it. Then on the 3rd string, I'll go to the 4th fret. The guitar is tuned kind of funny, normal tuning. So to tune the 2nd string, I'll go to the 4th fret, the 3rd string, match the pitch, then back to the 5th fret of the 2nd string and the 1st string open. So how about the 6th string? Well, since the 5th string's in tune, we know because we used our tuning fork, we will play the 5th fret of the 6th string and match that, okay? So it's a good skill to develop. If you're brand new to this, I do recommend getting using a tuner or electronic tuner or an app. The next thing that Manzi addresses in the book is what he calls fingerboard blackout. And by that, he's referring to the fact that many guitarists don't know the names of the notes on the fingerboard. But learning the names of the notes on the fingerboard is important for a couple of reasons. Reason one is it helps when you are communicating an idea with another player. You can say, well, maybe you'll want to play a G major 7th chord by having the G on the 4th string as your lowest note. Stuff like that. Also, when you do begin to learn what's termed movable chords, like this shape, and there are a lot of other shapes like that, you can change chords simply by moving that shape to a different part of the neck. But to know where to move it, say moving a G to a D, using the same shape, you need to know where the D is, okay, in this example. So it's super important, and if you're somebody that sees patterns well, you shouldn't have a lot of problem with it. I'm not like that, but I have figured out a method that I think is effective to help break it down so that you can see the patterns on the fingerboard, and it will help you learn. And in fact, I created a video about that, which I'll link to. The next thing he addresses in the book is reading music. And I know they might freak you out a little bit, make your eyes roll and go, you know, and some people are going to say, well, yeah, but Tommy Emmanuel doesn't read music. Eric Clapton doesn't read music. And I don't know that learning to read music would have made them better at what they're doing, but it sure wouldn't have hurt them. So I think it's worth learning how to do. So I'm going to give you a couple of reasons on why I think it's important to learn to read music. At one time, before recording was available and that sort of thing, the music was communicated from one musician to the other by either physically showing it to them, you know, sitting knee to knee and showing like that, or by having it written down. And that, when it was written and able to be printed, it could be distributed to a much larger number of people. In fact, I read a biography of Scott Joplin, the great ragtime piano player, and in the book they talked about sheet music being hung from clotheslines in music stores, and customers would come in and they would take down a piece of music and read through it to see if it was something they wanted to learn to play or not. So at one time that was a very common way of sharing music between musicians. So writing and sharing music between musicians has been going on for a very long time. And it makes a lot of music available to you. If you were going to play a Bach piece, something like that, it's a lot easier to learn that from looking at the printed music than it is trying to figure it all out by ear. So that's one reason. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going to bother to learn to read music. I'll just get the tabs for it. But the problem with tablature is it doesn't tell you how long each note is held. It just tells you where to find it on the fingerboard. Also, I've seen numerous cases of when the person who was doing the transcription went to take it from the standard notation and put it on the staff below on the tablature, they put it on the wrong line. So if you don't know how to read the standard notation, you'll be playing along a piece using the tabs, and it'll start sounding funny. And that would be because there's a transcribing error. So learning to read is a solid thing to do and a good way to develop your skills. Now, describing how to read music is a bigger process than I can put into this video. So I think it makes it really worthwhile to get the book and read through the book, because the description of how to do it in the book by Manzi is very good. So while it's important to be able to read standard notation, it's good to be able to read tablature too, because especially in contemporary books and things you find on the internet, sometimes that's the only way that that's written down. And the way to remember how to do tablature is to think of it as a guitar being turned upside down. With tablature, you'll have 6 lines. The top line represents the first string on the guitar. The bottom line represents the 6th string. And then they'll have numbers on all of the lines, and that tells you which fret to put your finger on to produce the sound they want. So essentially they've taken the guitar neck, turned it upside down, and recorded it or notated it like that. The other thing in this chapter that Manzi talks about that's important for you to know is how to read a chord diagram. So with a chord diagram, you'll get a little grid, and it'll have 6 vertical lines, and we'll have lines going across horizontally, and generally there are 5 of them. And sometimes there may be a Roman numeral next to it. So let's break down what that means. Essentially, what that diagram represents is part of the fingerboard. The vertical lines are going to be the strings. It'll start with the line farthest to the left will be the 6th string, one farthest to the right will be the 1st string. The horizontal string will be the fret wires, or the frets here. Okay. Sometimes you'll see a Roman numeral next to the diagram. So you may see it with like a V next to it, or 5, Roman numeral 5, and that means the chord shape, or the diagram, starts at the 5th fret. So the fret closest to the nut will be the 5th fret, and then it's like any other chord diagram with the dots where you put your fingers and that sort of thing. Okay, this covers chapter 1 pretty much. Again, I do urge you to get the book and follow along. As full disclosure, and it's a link to Amazon, I am an Amazon associate, and that means if I direct traffic to the Amazon site, it doesn't change how much the consumer or customer pays for the item, but it means that I'll get a little commission. This book, last time I checked, it was around $10, so I'll make about $0.50 if you buy it through that link, and you can help support my channel. I appreciate that. You can also support it by throwing a tip in the tip jar, buying merch from my merch page on my website. So If you've stuck with me this far, I appreciate it, and it makes me think you're pretty committed to learning how to do this. I tell people, because this is what I believe, this is a totally learnable thing to do. You know, when you see somebody that's playing ages, it's been playing forever, and they're just making this beautiful music, it seems like it's magic, but it's not. The magic of music lies in the soul of the person creating the music. Everything else, as far as playing the instrument and understanding how music works, that's mechanics. When it comes to playing the guitar, actually making sound come out of the guitar, it is like learning to operate any other piece of equipment, basically. You learn any quirks that this has, like the difference between when tuning the third to second string, and then you just learn to work the device. And you learn how music works. When you can work the device, you put it on the device. And when you learn how to do that well enough, all those melodies you hear in your head, you know, when you're humming a song in your brain, I think most of us do that, you learn how to put it on the device. And I'm 100% convinced that if you take the necessary steps, you can do this. Okay? So if you want to continue down this path with me, going sequentially through the chapters of this book, then be sure and hit the subscribe button so you know the next time I put a video up. I try to be consistent, but I'm like everybody else. I've got a busy life, and making sure I upload one every week isn't always reality for me. So if you subscribe, you'll be notified when I do it next. If this helped you out, hit the thumbs up, give me a like. It helps YouTube know that I'm a force for good on the on the YouTube platform, okay? And I'll see you next time.